Hi there, Simon from simonwoods.com. Now, I've got 4 wines in front of me today, and Nebbiolo is a major ingredient in all of them. Actually, Nebbiolo is the only ingredient in 3 of them, and the other one's got a bit of Barbera in there as well. The reason I'm doing these, I've got to do a piece about affordable Nebbiolo. Now, Nebbiolo, if you don't know it, it's the main grape of those great wines Barolo and Barbera, the stars of Piedmont in northwest Italy. And because it doesn't grow too well outside that region, and it only grows very well in certain bits of that region, so there's not very much of it around. That there is fabulous. There's lots of demand for it, so it tends to be expensive. So affordable Nebbiolo, pretty hard to find, but I've got 3 here, all under 15 quid. And then I've got a weirdie at the end, but we'll get onto that in a moment. First one is a Barolo. I don't know how they've managed to get a Barolo at under 10 quid, but Contea di Castiglione 2005 Barolo. Some people would say Barolo at that price is debasing the cause of Barolo, but let's see whether it is. Well, it smells authentic enough. Barolo has this it's a very fragrant grape. It's just a bit like Pinot Noir. It doesn't grow very well in lots of places, but when it does, they get it right. It's got this fragrance. It's one of those that manages to be full-flavoured, medium-bodied. So here, what you're getting is almost like what I call rusty fruit. There's a slightly floral, rose-petally edge, but there's also this edge of iron, and iron that's just gone that little bit rusty. Cherries, raspberries, strawberries. It smells pretty nice for 10 quid. Well, it's not an extremely complex example, but it does taste true to what you expect from Nebbiolo in that part of the country. It's quite light, but tannic, if that makes sense. It's got quite a light, gentle, delicate flavour, and then this firm structure. Very much food wine. You'd need something, it's great with risotto, it's great with things with truffles in, it's great with big hunks of roast meat. Yeah, okay. Ever so slightly warm cooked fruit edge, and it's going on the plums, yeah, the strawberries in particular. Don't mind that at all. Next one up, not a Barolo, but Nebbiolo d'Alba. So Alba, one of the main regions in Piemonte, the main towns, and yeah, let's see. But I think Barbera is probably the grape that the Alba region is best known for. But Nebbiolo does pretty well there. So let's see whether this is. I think it's about 2 quid more. Whether this is worth the extra money without the famous name. Marco Porello, 2008. So quite a bit younger. And it smells, yeah, it does. You can smell more youthful vigour here. Feels like it's got an extra firmness, extra layer of concentration, I'd say as well. So let's give it a whirl and see what it tastes like. Well, the more I smell it, the more it's a more modern style than the first one. If the first one was slightly, ever so slightly jammy, this feels like it's got firmer, fresher fruit, more solid tannins. Feels like, I don't know whether the first one's been in big old barrels that softened it for a bit. This feels like if it's been in old barrels, it's been in not very young, and I wouldn't be surprised if quite a bit of it had been in smaller, newer barrels for not as long, maybe 12 months or so. I might be making all that up, but I'll see if I can find out. But yes, it's got this earthy cherry kernel edge to it, which is rather appealing. Now that's a bigger, firmer, juicier style. Always got those tannins, always got acidity with Nebbiolo. Structure is one thing Nebbiolo never lacks. But on top of that, you've got this quite polished cherry. You've still got some of that rose petal fragrance as well. Maybe not the rusty iron edge that I got in the first Barolo. But there's a warm juiciness to it. Very hearty, quite satisfying wine, that. Very satisfying, actually. I like that. I prefer that to the first one. Right, another cheapish Barolo, back to 2005, Gemma. Gemma, 2005 Barolo. I think this one's about 14 quid. So we go like 10, 12, 14, £2 difference each time. Now this is ever so slight edge of nail varnishy volatility, which in small doses is really quite appealing. What it does is it lifts the fruit flavours, it makes them too much of it, and I mean, who wants to drink nail varnish? Maybe there are some strange people who enjoy a quick sup of the Rimmel, as it were. But here, Yes, you're getting this volatility is just highlighting the fruit, bringing out this. Yeah, again, it's that warm cherry, raspberry, strawberry, and it feels like it's got a bit younger, fresher style than the first Barolo. I know they're the same age, but it does feel like a younger, fresher wine. And that volatility is bringing out some of these more aromatic edges. There's some earthiness. There's this like rose petal. There's a bit of tar there too. And whereas the first one had a slightly rusty iron edge here, fresh iron. You always eat iron, don't you? And you can tell the difference between rusty iron and non-rusty iron. But there is like this iron, tar, something of the road about this wine. And it's yes, even more of a food wine, I'd say, than the first one. You can really feel the structure. It feels like this one has still got a bit of opening up to do. I like that. I don't quite like it as much as the Nebbiolo d'Alba, but I think for 14 quid, pretty fair buy. Yeah, when red wines like that manage to be refreshing. Mouth-filling, quite full in flavour, but still finishing refreshing. Let's see whether the final one finishes refreshing. We are on the Big Blind from First Drop Wines in Australia. Adelaide Hills, 2008, Nebbiolo Barbera. And Nebbiolo has been grown by people like Brown Brothers in Australia for quite a few years, but it's just starting to get more widely planted. There's a guy called Steve Pannell who's had quite a bit of success with Nebbiolo in South Australia. Can't remember whether he's in Adelaide Hills or not, but I think he is. But Nebbiolo Barbera, which is one of the classic blends that you'll find in Piedmont. And yes, I mean, you can tell from it's from a different country. It's warmer, it's richer, it's much more on that leathery tar edge, and it's unfair to make a comparison with these. It's which I'm going to do, of course. So, but being unfair, yeah, you feel like the extra flesh, you feel like the extra heat. It feels like nothing has struggled to ripen here. It's not as fragrant. It's more on that warm, chewy, leathery edge. And just because someone's got the same raw ingredients doesn't mean they're going to make the same wine if they plant them in different parts of the world, so shouldn't be surprised. Yeah, this is more plums, leather, raspberries again. And yes, I think it is a bit unfair doing it after the slightly lighter styles here, because it feels like a bit of a galumphing wine after the Barolo. But it is quite a rich, satisfying wine. It's got this slightly savoury, meaty edge to the finish. I don't know whether they needed the Barbera. I'd like to see a little bit more strained, angular style from if they just put the Nebbiolo in. Barbera is a bit fatter, friendlier grape. It's not quite the same as when they blend Merlot in with Cabernet Sauvignon to soften it slightly, but because they're rather different grapes. But that's almost the same idea. Something to calm down the occasionally austere edge of the more serious grape. Yeah, I think if I'd come across that in isolation, I'd like it more than I do at the moment. But I think I'll be drinking the Barolo and the Nebbiolo tonight. See you soon.